Recording. All right, well, good morning. One more step into the new year, the end of the week. We get to do this all over again. But today I want to review a little bit what we did last week because we added something new to our practice with the bone marrow washing brain tendon changing classic. I think I said it right. Anyway, we're going to do this Negong practice, which is bringing the chi, and so we're breathing in chi, we're spiraling in chi, and then we're packing in chi. So this practice, this Negong practice, is internal energy work. So it's nothing that you're doing externally, but there's so much going on internally. And so the practice is about bringing up chi through these, through the fingers and the toes, and going through the major joint areas of the body, holding it there, then bringing it back out, you know, washing it out. So washing out the toxins, the old, the tension, the stuckness, the old chi, kind of getting it out of our system. So the first thing we're going to do is work with the sipping method. So sipping is you're bringing up that chi just as you would be bringing in liquid through a straw. Okay, so you're going to be sipping through the fingertips and the toes. We're going to start with the upper body, and then we'll do the lower body, and then we'll combine it. Okay, so you're going to be bringing, so the first part is the upper body. So we'll be standing in our river position, which is our standing meditation posture for the water element being the winter time. And so we begin just by leading that chi. We sip it from the fingertips to the wrist, and then exhale from the wrist out the fingertips. This is just kind of warming up. And then we bring the second sip from the fingertips to the elbows. And then you exhale from the elbows out the fingertips. Then the third, fingertips all the way up to the shoulders. Pause it there. And then you exhale from the shoulders out the fingertips. So the idea is you may not feel it today, you know, and it may not happen until we practice this a few times, but you'll feel, eventually you'll feel like a thickening in the joint. And like there's energy coming up and holding in the joint, and then you flush it out, okay? And so we do the same thing with the lower body. So come back to our stance, you breathe in from the tips of the toes to the ankles. And then exhale, ankles out the toes. And then the toes to the knees. Pause it there. Exhale from the toes, knees out the toes. And then sip in through the toes, come up into the hips. And then exhale from the hips out the toes. Okay? And then we bring both of it together. So we'll do the upper body, the lower body, and then both. So then breathe in from the fingertips and the toes to the ankles, wrists. Sip it up to the elbows and knees. Then sip it up into the shoulders and hips. And then you bring that energy from the upper body to CV7, lower body to Ming Men, which is the space between L3, L4. And then you guide it up all the way up to the Bai Wei point, which is at the crown of the head. And then you exhale down and out all the joints. So I did it just really quick, so we're not really in this meditation yet or in this practice yet, just kind of getting you the idea of what's going on, okay? So that is the sipping method. And I think for today, because we've got a lot to cover, we'll just do the sipping first, just to start bringing in this chi into the body. You can do this practice throughout the week, and then on Thursday, we'll add in the spiraling. And then by next week, we'll add in the packing, which is the pulling everything into the bone, like you're really flexing out your thing, flexing, what's the word, eccentric, concentric, and static, or no. Oh, I can't think of the word. Anyway, you're squeezing in all your muscles, and it's, you know, really flexing them and pulling in that chi into the bone, and then you flush it all out. So let's give it a try. You'll get really warm, so if you think you might want to take a sweater off, do it now, because you will get warm. All right, so let's begin with 3 pull downs. Inhale, we gather up to your right, crossing through the center. Exhale as you go down to your left. In, pull up the earth, gather the heavens. Exhale as you clear. And then set. So as we come and find our medium with horse stance, just softening the knees a little bit. So we're not going into a deep horse stance, just kind of a moderate. So you should feel a little flexing on the thighs. The sits bones drop back towards your heels. The shoulders relax and the heart drops inward. The crown of the head rises, opens. The shoulders drop away from the ears, chest hollows, kidneys press back, going through the 10 points of awareness. The hips sink, the tailbone glides under, but the sits bones stay behind your heels. The knees flex and trigger inwards as the heels drill out and the big toes drill down. Arches pull up. The tip of the tongue will rest against the alveolar ridge behind the front teeth of the roof of the mouth on the inhale. When you pause the breath at the top of the inhale, let the tongue pull away. And exhale. Drawing the navel back, lift the perineum. Turning the palms forward, roll out your shoulders back and down, and gently push forward slightly. The weight should stay in your heels. The buttocks should be relaxed. The big toes should be pressing as if they were suctioned to the earth. And the arches pull up. So we're going to make sure we have a little bit of space between the armpits. So clearing the armpits. Tip of the tongue rises to the roof of the mouth on the inhale and drops on the exhale as the navel draws back and the perineum lifts. So focusing on the breath as it moves in and out of the nostrils. Coordinating the tongue with your breath. Now start to feel this rising energy as that breath rolls in, and the falling, releasing energy as the breath rolls out. And practicing our fire path breathing. So the tongue at the roof of the mouth is the fire point in the mouth. And we imagine we're drawing up this little watery ball up the back of the spine, over the crown of the head. And on the exhale, letting that ball just flow open. Feeling the water splash down the front of you, into the navel, goes back into the perineum where it's compressed. The very purest of chi stays compressing and building in that lower abdomen, releasing all the waste. Inhale, guiding up that little golden chi ball, little watery ball, however you picture it. And it comes down, rolls down the front, or just splashes down the chest. Enters the navel. Press it into this little, small pea-sized ball of chi. So this is really the first part to master this fire path breathing. Another couple of rounds. As you breathe in through the nostrils, feel that breath entering down the windpipe, filling the lower abdomen, then the middle, then the upper lungs. Yet exhale out the nostrils, the lungs, the middle, the lower. Now don't worry if this isn't coming to you naturally. You can continue with that fire path breath as we come into this next. So we go into the neck bone part. So we begin with the fingertips. Exhale everything out. Imagine there's an opening at the fingertips, at the tips of the fingers, and we draw that chi in through the fingertips to the wrists. Hold it there at the wrist. Then exhale out from the wrist to the fingertips. Now inhale through the fingertips, through the wrist to the elbows. Hold it there at the elbows. Visualize it in your mind's eye. Exhale from the elbows out, the wrists, through the fingertips. Inhale through the fingertips, through the wrists, through the elbows, up to the shoulders. Then exhale from the shoulders, through the elbows, wrists, and fingertips. Inhale through the fingertips, wrists, elbows, shoulders, through to the C7, cervical vertebrae, all the way up, bring it up to the crown of the head by waypoint. And then exhale back down out of the shoulders, wrists, fingertips. Good, we'll do one more. Inhale through the fingertips. Bring it up through the wrists to the elbows, through the elbows to the shoulders to that CV7, the base of your neck, all the way up. Bring it to the byway point, crown of the head. Hold it there for a moment. Then exhale, let it come down now to the shoulders, out of your elbows, wrists, fingertips. And then coming back to normal breathing. Bring your attention to your toes. Weight stays in your heels. And imagine a small opening at each tip of your toes. Exhale everything out. Inhale through the toes to the ankles. Hold it at the ankles. Exhale from the ankles at the toes. Inhale again, chi through the toes, the ankles to the knees. Hold it at the knees. Exhale from the knees, ankles, and out the toes. Inhale through the toes, ankles, to the knees, to the hips. Pause at the hips. Exhale from the hips, through the knees, ankles, out the toes. Now bring back into the toes, to the ankles, to the knees, to the hips. Bring it up to that lumbar L3, L4, and all the way up by waypoint, crown of the head. Pause it there. And then exhale, send it back down the way it came in, through the hips, through the knees, the ankles, out the toes. Do 2 more. Inhale through the toes, to the ankles, to the knees, to the hips, up, Ming Men point, all the way up the spine to the byway. Pause it. And then exhale out, down the spine, through the hips, knees, ankles, and toes. And 1 more. Inhale through the toes, the ankles, knees, hips, up through the spine. Ming Men all the way going up. Follow it up. The crown of the head, by waypoint. Exhale down. Back out the way it came, through the hips, knees, ankles, and toes. Take a couple of breaths. Now we'll do this together. Don't worry if you're not quite able to do it. Just follow my voice. Exhale everything out. Inhale from the toes through the fingertips, ankles, wrists, knees, elbows, shoulders, hips, Ming Men, CV7, all the way up. Pause it at the byway point. And exhale. Let go out the way it came in. Release it through the shoulders, hips, elbows, knees, ankles, and wrists, knees, and toes and fingers. Fingertips, toes, ankles, wrists, knees, elbows, all the way up. Hold to the byway point. And exhale. Down through the shoulders, hips, down the elbows, knees, wrists, and ankles, toes, and fingers. Inhale through the toes and fingers, wrists and knees. Knees, elbows, hips, shoulders. Ming Men, CV7, and all the way up to the byway. And release. And go out of the shoulders, hips, elbows, knees, wrists, ankles, toes, fingertips. 1 more. So you can do it on your own. And come into normal breathing. Slowly opening your eyes, releasing your hands to your side. And clear. Just begin to shake it out. So I'm going to unmute you if you have any questions, I'll let you unmute yourself. And any comments or concerns before we go on to the next part? Bad or good, if you didn't feel it or you did feel it, Any questions about what you're feeling? Please let me know. Okay, so we're just shaking elbows, wrists, shoulders. And let's add in that lower body. So soften the knees, just kind of bouncing through the heels, knees, and hips. So it's more like you're just pushing into your toes, and then let your arms just be moved. And we allow a little shifting to side. Let your spine rotate. So the 9 gates, if you haven't figured it out, are ankles, knees, hips, wrists, elbows, shoulders, lumbar, thoracic, and cervical vertebrae. Letting your breath kind of bounce out. You know, as your heels land, it's like a little release of that sharp release of the breath. And with each rebound, it just kind of sucks air in naturally through your nose. And make sure that the head isn't dropped. You do want to keep the head rising up through the byway point or crown. So the byway point is that acupuncture point at the crown of the head. It's the top of the small circuit. Our small circuit is comprised of the governing and conception vessels that separate the body right to left. So when we practice our fire path breathing, we're actually reversing the energy in that circuit, restoring. So it's a restorative protocol. So we're kind of bringing ourselves back in age in terms of years, but in terms of our health, and reversing the effects of life on our bodies, so to speak. So we breathe up the spine over the crown, and then we exhale down the front of the body. So it might be a little bit different than what you have been practicing in martial art classes or Tai Chi classes, because they do it a little differently, different ways of breathing. So come back to center and just throw it out. Should feel a little tingling in the fingertips. Now let's go ahead and do our bone tapping practice. So you can inch out your feet to be a little wider. I'm going to squat down and just tapping up the inside of the ankle in that hollow part between that bony ankle and your heel. And come just above the ankle. And then tapping about halfway up the calf, inside calves, on that edge of the tibia. And then coming up just below the knee joint, just above the knee joint, about halfway up those inner thighs, all the way up to the head of the femur. Go around the pelvis and just tap along your spine. Down to the sacrum and back up. And then coming down the buttocks. Come down the backs of the legs, hamstrings to the back of the knees. Halfway down your calf. Come down the Achilles tendon, wrap around the outside of the ankle between the ankle bone and the heel. And then top of the foot, come back the inside. And then come back up again, just above the ankle. That halfway up there's inner calf muscle. And then just below the knee, just above the knee. Halfway up the thigh. Come around the pelvis to the outer part of your femur, and we're just knocking on the femur, knocking on femur's door. And you can do this with the heel of your palm, the knuckle, or an open hand. So whatever feels good to you. Just knocking on those femurs, biggest bone in the body, and then coming down the outer part of the leg, halfway down, just the outer part of the knees. Try not to let them cave. Be strong and push them, hold them there. Halfway down the outer calves, just above the ankles, outer ankle, just below the outer ankle. Come across the tops of the feet, back inside, just above the ankle, halfway up the calf, inner knees, above the knees, come up halfway up those thighs, and then just tapping here at the groin area. I'm going to open the hand and slide this out. So this is our sliding out the lymphatic fluids, getting that to move. And then we're going to tap down the front of the leg. So tapping down stomach meridian to just the outer part of the knee, just below the outer knee, stomach 36, if you're familiar with it. Coming down the shin, top of foot, and now inhale, lift up, reach overhead, exhale, and clear. All right, so the legs should feel all tingly and good to go. Let's do the upper body. So coming up, your index finger, okay? So large intestine will start just above the wrist. Here, I'd like to do an open hand. And following that line, so large intestine line, over the shoulder. And then come down the lung line. So this is going out the thumb, inside of the chest, out the thumb. Then turn the arm. Small intestine line is on the outside of the pinky. Going along the outside of that arm, over the shoulder. Come around the shoulder to the armpit. Come down on the pinky side of the inner part of the arm. And then outside, going up the center of the arm, triple warmer, over the shoulder. Come to the sternum and tap right down the bicep, inner part of the elbow, inner wrist, to the palm of the hand, third part of the knee. And we switch sides. Okay, other side. First finger, index finger line. Coming up that large intestine line over the shoulder, come around to the inside of the chest. We go down the lung line, out the thumb. Then turn your arm and come up that small intestine line, over the shoulder, around the shoulder to the armpit. Go down on the heart line. Top of the arm center, triple warmer. Come to the sternum and out the center, inside or pericardium. All right. Now that we're all stimulated, arms and legs, torso, breath, we'll get started with our practice. So inhale, clear all that out. Exhale. Okay, so each season we move into different protocols. So before we get into, we're just going to do a little healing sound for our winter season, which is the chew, C-H-U-U-U. So when we express that sound, we're freeing ourselves of excess fear. Now, we don't sedate the kidneys. This is the emotion that sits in the kidneys, but it's also that sense of, it's a sense, and you never sedate the kidney essence. So even fear has a very protective aspect to it. So we want to make sure that's strong enough, but we also want to release that excess. So we're not just fearful all the time and held up in a little ball, okay? So we do shaking the dragon's whiskers. We just kind of let ourselves be pushed side to side. Use your feet, waist, arms. Remember that idea of feet, waist, arms. We push from the feet, the waist changes direction, the arms are the expression. And now we'll add that healing sound. So go right, left, then shoo out to the right. And 1, 2, going back, push your hand around your body with the choo sound all the way looking behind you. When you look at fear, it becomes less fearful. Exhale. 1, 2. 1, 2. 2. Last one. Good. Come to center, inhale, and set, exhale. So bring our feet a little bit closer, back shoulder width apart, pressing big toes into the earth, little toes, outer heels, inner heels, arches draw up, feel the firmness of the legs. And sink. Good. So now taking your arms, palms are open. We'll run through a little bit of golden chi ball. As we inhale, just allow the weight to come to the balls of the feet, big toes, little toes. As you exhale, shift back to your heels, dropping your head, rounding your back. Inhale to open, shoulder blades pull together, heart lifts. Exhale to the heels, collarbones pull together, open the back of the heart. Inhale. So it's kind of like cat-cow in yoga in a standing position. Inhale, one more. And exhale, round. Then the arms come up on the next inhale. Let the fingers flick up. Exhale as we round the back. Phoenix ascends the flames is the idea, or I like to look at this as an eagle taking off in flight. Last one. We're going to do 3 slow monkey leaps. Inhale, toss the ball, let the arms go. Exhale and sink. Catch the ball. Inhale, extend the arms, release, catch, and sink. Inhale, inhale, exhale as you sink. And do a few more of these. Inhale, toss, exhale, sink. Inhale, toss, exhale, sink. Last one. Inhale, toss, exhale, and sink. Good. Now pull the elbows back. So your hands, pinky side, palms are up. Pinky side is right under the breast. So this point that we're scrubbing along the ribs is liver 14. If you're familiar with that point, kind of dig in there. And we're pulling the shoulders back and down. We begin inhaling as we go down. So the arch of the back is really extended, opening. And then we're tucking under and rounding up on the exhale. Pull back on the elbows. Inhale as we sink. Tuck under the tail, round up as you exhale. So this is stimulating the sacral and cranial pump and getting that spinal fluid moving up, flowing through all the way into the brain. Opening up any blockages through the governing vessel. And one more. And 7. So as you take the feet out, one more, just go toe heel out 1 or 2 more times. So you're comfortable, nice wide horse stance. And here we're going to introduce our winter regulating protocol, which is that Tai Chi move that we've been working with for moving the water. Okay. In the Qigong, in the Golden Qi Ball protocol, we do the shift and, holding the sun and the moon. But for our purposes for the winter time, we're just going to make it into just pushing that water. So sinking, let the right hand go back. So I'll mirror you. The right hand is going to go to the kidneys, just resting on the kidneys. If that's uncomfortable in your shoulder or wrist or anything, you can have it here. It doesn't matter. With your free hand, is going to open. We're going to shift to that left side. Rotate at the waist by pushing your right heel into the floor. Rotates the waist. You look at the left wall. Then push from your left foot to your right. Rotate the waist. The arms follow. Then as you push back from the right to the left, the arm will just roll back and up, so you're kind of clearing. Palm faces out. Then as you push from the left side to the right, the waist moves, the hand pushes the water, push from right to left, the waist turns, the arm rolls out. So try to keep the arm muscles relaxed. It's not the arm lifting, it's the arm that's being lifted. So in order to really understand what Tai Chi is, we need to understand the basics of how to move the Chi through the body. And that's what Tai Chi is doing. You've learned how to move the Chi through the body using our Qigong practices, so that when we start to move across the room, that the upper body will just kind of do, and there's an intention of where you want, what kind of position the hands are in terms of if it's a strike or a block or a split or a spiral, all those different positions of the arms. But it's more of a, it's that 4th dimension. Don't worry if. So when you're pushing the water, and then as the arm is being, it really doesn't go above the head, just kind of crosses over your eyes. So make sure the shoulder is down, relaxed, and the elbow is below the shoulder and below the wrist. And we'll do one more, and we'll switch to the other side. So I'm just going to slip my socks off here. I do like to have practice, especially our Qigong part with bare feet. Just helps to really get your body into the space. If you're in a base, several of you aren't on ground floor, but ground floor really helps with that rooting and grounding and having that feel of being solid in the top, the lower body, and really flexible and freeing in the upper body. So we'll take the Left hand now behind, opening up the right, push from left heel to right, rotate the waist by pushing that heel out, looking at the right wall now. And as I push from right foot to left foot, turning the waist, the heel turns the waist, push back, and the arm will float. So where is the breath? It can be inhaling as you come across low, exhaling as you come across high. Do 3 more. Last one. And back to center, inhale, and exhale. All right, shoulders roll back and down. You can turn the heels in, turn the toes in, turn the heels in, turn the toes in. A little, this is really good for sciatica, rotating at that hip, knee, toes, then back to center, hip, knee, toes, parallel, hip, knee, toes, parallel, and then come back. And when you're balanced and you're able to really get this movement down, it really does help to realign the hips, the pelvis. So kind of opening up and releasing any tightness or stuckness in the in those sciatic nerve areas. So when we talk about the sciatic nerve, not necessarily talking just about the one sciatic nerve, but all of those, anything that can be compressed into that lower back area. Okay. So I promised you we're going to hit those last 3, the last 3 vessels. So we're doing part of our practice in this winter and summer also is the 8 vessel practice. So because we have, Anne is just coming on, and I know you'll be able to follow along with this easy enough. You're not a newbie to our different practice, yoga is, we're basically, this is, can be referred to as Taoist yoga. So we're going to hit it from the top. I'm going to start with because the first 4 vessels, the first 4 postures are the most taxing on the body. They're the hardest to do. So you can always get more practice. All right, so we'll start in this shoulder width apart position. And so let's kind of sink into that. So standing mountain, it's where all your Tai Chi forms are going to start some version of this. Normally they start at Wu Ji, then they come out and set here. Then there's this first movement of Tai Chi, which is just rolling the ball. So we'll do that again a few times, because actually they say that you're only as good as this first movement. Your Tai Chi practice is only as good as this. It seems so simple, feet, waist, arms. We sink feet, waist, arms. So the big toes press, heels, big toes. So unlike with our Qigong practices, Tai Chi, you want to stay long in the spine. The head remains floating over the body. There's a rising and there's a falling. Good. On this next one, rising, and we'll fall just halfway with the arms are going to roll out into embracing the heart. So also, if you've taken a Tai Chi class before, you go right into this. However, if you don't know much about Tai Chi or you've never practiced Qigong, it really isn't, it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't make sense in your body. So I found that the practices of Qigong really will set you up right away for the practice of Tai Chi, because you start to get it. It's hard to explain. You can't really explain what to feel. I can do my best, but you start to feel it. So in this position, what I'm feeling is my hands are tingling. The palms are getting really hot and warm and tingly. So there is this magnetic field in the fingertips as they kind of extend towards one another. The arms are starting to tingle. There shouldn't be tension in the arms. It's almost as if there was a shelf that you're just resting your arms on. The shoulders are relaxed, the chest hollows to create this circular ball from your fingers around the inside of your elbows to the hollow part of the chest, the sternum. The hands reflect the sternum and the ribs. So if you look at the space between your fingers, can you see the sternum being reflected in them, sort of? And the fingers reflect the ribs coming out of the sternum. So just kind of holding this, your thighs should be feeling pretty good. Well, what do I mean by, if you haven't practiced in a while, maybe they're burning, but you should feel them anyway. If they're burning, just come up a little higher, straighten your knees a little bit. We don't want to lock the knees out. We don't want to keep them straight. We want to keep that slight bend in the knee. Okay, and now we're going to go into our first vessel. So as I shift to the right, notice that I'm shifting from my foot. I'm not doing this. So make sure the hands stay with their mirrored part, the lungs and rib cage. Now, as I rotate my heel out, the toes turn into the arch of the foot, my waist turns and I drop the heel. So my weight stays over the right leg and your calf is being stretched by the heel dropping to the floor. It's almost like a kickstand. So there's energy in that leg, but it's your mind's energy. It's not your weight. So you can see my straight line from the crown of the head to my heel. The right leg, the knee, and the heel and the center of the hip are still pointing straight ahead to the screen that you're looking at me from. Okay, so this hip, the eye of the hip, line with the kneecap. The knee is in line with the second and third toe. And I'm looking to the right wall. The shoulders stay level. So the tendency is for that right shoulder to want to pop up, drop it down, realign, breathe, melt the heart. So take a few deep breaths here. You're breathing in through the feet. Exhale out the hands. So we have another circuit here, coming up the kidney 1 point, coming out the pericardium point. So we have a couple of vessels that we're working in. So the postures that we're going into has multiple vessels that we're stimulating. So the first one is the heel vessel, from your outer heel up and around that left side of the head. The belt vessel through the waist. So one more breath. So make sure, look at me, then kind of, if you can see yourself, make sure that the head isn't back here, okay? That you're not arched in this back, but rather you follow the line. You're also not way out here. So we want the spine, we want this line to be nice and straight, not broken. So come out of that, inhale. As we come back to the center, sink, exhale, push it down. Then inhale, come back up and you shift your weight to the left side. On the exhale, we're going to turn the foot, waist, press the back of the hands to that left wall. Now notice I'm not tilting or dropping. I'm not pulling back. I want to go right over that left leg. So I'm balanced, shoulders, hip, knee, toes. With practice, you'll get this angle to be 90 degrees. So that the right toes are pointing to the left heel, the left toes are pointing straight on to the screen. So you're making that little perpendicular T shape, or 7. So you do want to feel it's going to be the outer part of that quad that's being affected in a strengthening way. So it's just building up those muscles that we want to develop for Tai Chi. So inhale through the feet, through the body, exhale out the palms of the hands. Inhale through the palms. Exhale through your feet. Inhale through your feet. Exhale out the palms. Inhale through the palms. And exhale out the feet. Last time, inhale through your feet. Exhale out the palms. Inhale through your palms. And exhale out your feet. Good. Then inhale, release your right foot. Exhale, come down to center. Good. So normally we go right into the next vessel, which is separating heaven and earth. But let's just go to, we'll do it right and left side. So inhale the arms up. Exhale and sink. Embrace the heart. Inhale, shift to your right. Rotate the foot. This time, the front hand, your left hand's going to go up as your right hand presses down. So pull your fingers back. The palms of your hands are going to press the earth and the heaven. Left foot is going to, you're going to lift the heel, you're going to drop the knee, and then you're going to center your weight for this one. So it's centered. I've got as much weight on that back foot as I do on the other. So my right leg maybe has a little bit more weight, and that's okay. The left leg is drawing underneath you. So you can see where my knee is, where my hip is and shoulder. This stays in a line as best you can. You want to take that hip and tuck it underneath you. So the kneecap, the hip, and the shoulder are aligned all the way up to the palm of the hand. Then I'm tucking, pulling back on my right femur into the right hip socket, twisting at the waist, pressing up on the heavens, down on the earth, pulling the fingers back, and breathe in. And out. So twisting, this is our belt vessel again. And out. Shoulders are back and down. Inhale. And exhale. So just because we're short on time, inhale. Let's yin yang the arms. So top arm comes down, bottom arm goes up as I shift the weight. Left leg takes the weight. Then the left arm presses down behind the buttocks. The right arm turns up over the head. Tuck the knee under. Tuck your right hip under. And sink and then spiral. So your knees kind of go one way, your thighs go one way, and the upper body goes the other way. Keep the bi-way point lifted, shoulders level. Even though one presses down, one presses up, shoulders stay level, right under the ears. Tuck the tailbone, lengthen your spine. I know, getting sweaty. Make sure your shoulders are level. Make sure your hips are level. Drop that left hip. Pull forward and up on the right hip. That makes a big difference. Does anybody notice it? You can wave your hand at me. Breathe. And then inhale to come back out of that. Back to center and exhale, set. So if you got a little warm and sweaty, that's the idea. Why do we mix fire and water? Anybody know? To kind of come into this state of balance. We don't want to be too hot in the head. We don't want to be too cool or cold. So we want to find this middle place where things move and circulate. So it's like you're trying to drop the fire into the low belly where it creates like a bonfire. The water sits above that. And as the fire heats the water, we create the steam. This is pretty advanced of Chinese alchemy, you know, the whole how you make this energy and how you heal yourself. So that's what we're doing, is we're just kind of learning how to use these forms, these exercises to balance out the body, regulate the body. All right, so here we go. We hit the button. Our time is up. Here's our Boston. This is the next one we're going into. This is the next one we'll go into next time. Or holding the two poles and catching my breath. Inhale as we clear. Exhale. 2. And 1 more. And set. All right. So that is it for today.